What the hell is Sauce Sports or whatever that last call was talking about? What the hell is that?
Guys are from Free Love, man.
What's going on, Houston Texans fans? What's going on, Sauce Nation? This is Toxic City Tinney, and this is not breaking news. It's not urgent news, but I am bringing you truth and facts today. This is a dossier that I have put together about this is the dossier I would say that you need to reference when I say fire Bill O'Brien. I know yesterday was a bad game by everyone, but what I'm going to give you today is the information that ties one piece to the next, that gives you evidence, reason, and a history as to why he needs to be fired. Normally, I do not, and I repeat, I do not write these things down. I don't keep a journal. I don't fucking go through and find video evidence and clip it to a video or anything like that. So what I'm going to explain to you is stuff that I have memorized and kept off the top of my head, which I actually just today, or last night and today, went through, checked the records, checked the stats, and pulled it all together for you. So that way you can understand that when I think about something and I say it, it's coming from a place of careful thinking, and there is a thought process, just not me reaching in my ass and pulling things out. The reason why I say fire Bill O'Brien is because I have kept a mental note every year that we have never beaten an AFC contender that played in the AFC championship game for that season. Yesterday, that loss brought that to mind. We have consistently been doing something that I hadn't even thought about, and I decided to finally look into it. And I went ahead, went through the stats like I said last night, wrote this down, put it to paper. This is a little bit scripted, so where it may sound like I'm stuttering or something, I'm probably getting lost in my own chicken scratch, but bear with me. So let's go ahead and kick it all the way back to 2014. It's O'Brien's rookie season as a head coach. Basically, we look at this. That AFC championship game was New England versus Indianapolis. Guess what happened that year? I'll give you like a second. Don't even stop the video to go Google. Indianapolis swept us that year. The first game was 33-28, 17-10. We didn't play New England that year, but we did play Indy. That is a divisional rival that swept us. And it's not the first time that it happened. There is another time that has happened underneath Coach Bill O'Brien. But in those games, Fitzpatrick threw for 212 yards the first game and 1 TD. The second game, Tom Savage threw for 127 yards and 0 TDs. What happened yesterday with Bill O'Brien coach team against the Baltimore Ravens, coming off a bye week, may I add? Deshaun Watson threw for 169 yards and 0 passing TDs. Just keep these numbers in mind. You can always come back and rewind and see where I'm stopping and see what I'm saying. And this is all confirmable. You can go check these things out yourself. So that's year 2014. Something like that you would forgive. It's a rookie head coach season. I think we were all kind of excited to have somebody other than Kubiak. It was fresh blood. It was the new car scent. I'm sorry. And I mean, everybody was excited. Let's go into 2015. In 2015, the AFC Championship game featured New England versus Denver. Guess who we played that year? New England. Guess how much we lost to? Lost to New England by. It was 27-6. 27-6. And guess what? We had Brian Hoyer as pretty much our quarterback during that time. It was probably jumping back and forth from Mallett to Hoyer, and I think this is by the time Mallett had already fucked up. So, it was a turbulent time. Like, I brought up Mallett for a reason. It was things that we could forgive. We could sit there and say, okay, he was having trouble with Mallett. You know, he wanted to go with Mallett, but Hoyer fucked it all up. And then he had to pull out Hoyer and go with Mallett. And then Mallett couldn't stay on fucking track. He couldn't keep his fucking alarm clock on. So we ended up losing to New England that year. New England goes into the AFC Championship game that year. And they, I forget what the score, but we ended up losing to New England that year in the regular season, 27-6, and Hoyer threw for 155 yards and 0 TDs. 0 TDs. And we do remember what happened there, right? I mean, I'm not the only one that forgot about it. I mean, that playoff game, we lost to Kansas City pretty bad. Let's go into 2016. 2016 is another important year because we've gone through 2 beginning starts to a season, and we're all saying O'Brien just needs to get the team around him. By 2016, the talent has changed up a little bit more, and the AFC Championship game rolls around. It's New England versus Pittsburgh. Guess who we played that year? New England beats Houston by what? 27-0. Who was the quarterback? Jacoby Brissett. But who was our quarterback at the time? Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler threw for 196 yards and 0 TDs. 196 yards. Now, considering that last year, the year before that, 2015, that was a blowout loss. That was our first blowout loss to an AFC contender that played in the AFC Championship game. Second year, we lose to the same team again, led by a different quarterback that wasn't Tom Brady. We get blown out. We pretty much give them the same numbers, but we can't score a single point. What do we all do as fans? We understand that Brock Osweiler wasn't the answer. We know that Bill O'Brien needed a quarterback. So those were the excuses we were using at the time. So we ignore the trend that's starting to set here. We're losing year in, year out to AFC Championship contenders. This is the trend that starts to happen. Then, let's look at 2017. We get Deshaun Watson. We are on a high of all highs because we believe in Watson. Even after the bad game yesterday, we believe in Watson because he's done good things this year. Look at the win against Kansas City. Look at the win in London right before the bye week. Look at some of these heroic feats that he accomplishes. The come from behind win to beat the Raiders. So we love Watson. Watson is without a choice right now. And there may be a trend going on right there, but I'm not looking yet. Not last year, but in the year 2017 when it was his rookie year, he came into the game, the first game against Jacksonville. And we all know New England and Jacksonville played in that 2017 AFC Championship game. Watson comes into the first game. Of course, not a full game, but Watson only throws 102 yards and 1 TD. By the time we have to play the Jacksonville Jags again, Watson's already been injured. He's not playing no more. And we have TJ Yates out there who pretty much throws for 128 yards and 1 TD against Jacksonville. In both those games, we were blown out. Completely blown out. And that's a bad thing. All right? So now you have 2015, 2016, and 2017 where we lose to an AFC contender that ends up, an AFC opponent that ends up going to the championship and is a contender, blows us out in 2 games. And that's even worse because that's a divisional rival. So look at it right now. Now this is the second time in Coach O'Brien's tenure that we lost to a fucking divisional rival and got swept. Okay? This is 2014 to 2017. He got swept by an opponent from our division that ended up making it to an AFC Championship game. All right? If you haven't seen the fucking trend yet, we cannot beat the contenders. We are not good enough to beat the contenders that are on our fucking regular season. And when we make it to the playoffs, we get our asses handed to us. What happened in 2016? We beat up a carless Raiders team just to go on to lose to the fucking New England Patriots in the second half of a game where fucking Brock Osweiler gives all the ball away. And that's what we forget because it's Brock Osweiler's fault. It's not O'Brien's fault because he wasn't throwing the ball. All right, so we made it through 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Let's move to 2018 last year. We all know who played in that game. It was New England versus Kansas City. But what happened that year? New England beat Houston 27-20. That's a very fooling thing when you go back to look at it and you're like, okay, I remember this game because it was the first game of the season. And a lot of us were critical of Watson because he only had 176 yards and 1 TD. And a lot of us pointed to the fact that they try to crawl back. And we use that as an excuse. But when Watson threw for 176 yards and 1 TD, and we played from behind most of the game, in my definition, I would call that a blowout loss. Because not at any point during that game did we have any control of what we could do and what we wanted to do. Now, if you don't want to call it a traditional blowout, then it will say that from 2014 we didn't get blown out by the Colts. But in 2015, 2016, and 2017, we experienced 4 games within a 3-year span where we got blown out by a team that later went on to play in an AFC championship game. In 2018, New England went on to play in an AFC championship game. What's even worse is that after our initial win against the Colts last year, we went on now to lose. What is it? You lose 1, 2. You've lost 3 games in a row to the Indianapolis Colts. We have another chance coming this Thursday. But let me ask you something. When is it going to start being O'Brien's fault? This is the trend. From 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, he has not beaten an AFC contender, a team that made an appearance in the AFC Championship game. And, I mean, let's look at it. I mean, Indy didn't make it to the Super Bowl 2014. Then you got New England versus Denver in 2015. Of course, we know how that goes down. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl. It was Denver that did. And then you look at 2016. 2016, New England beats Pittsburgh to go into the fucking Super Bowl. In 2017, New England beats Jacksonville to go into the Super Bowl. In 2018, New England beats Kansas City to go into the Super Bowl. This year, 2019, Baltimore beats Houston 41-7. Deshaun Watson throws for 169 yards and 0 TDs. 0 TDs. I know a lot of y'all want to blame the players, blame the penalties, because that's the initial thing. That's what you just saw. You saw their mistakes. You saw what happened. You saw things crumble and not go as planned. But I'm going to tell you right now, from 2014 to 2019, and I know Baltimore hasn't punched a ticket to the AFC Championship game. I'm just using it as an example. If they were, you would have 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. All of which that O'Brien has not been capable of beating a contender. At what point through 6 years do you take the step back and actually start to blame the man who's responsible? He's the most consistent thing from 2014 to 2019. Watson wasn't here in 2014, 15, or 16. Watson's been here for 17, 18, and 19 now. Y'all blame the injuries that happened in between here. Well, yeah, but what about the change of talent? The Houston Texans 2019 to 2020 season, the talent that's on this team, there's only a literal handful of players from 2014 that's still on this team. The talent has changed, but the results have not. When I call for Bill O'Brien's head, when I say he needs to be fired, this is my reasoning. I'm not some fucking Joe Schmo who fucking sits here and watches half a game and fucking just goes off of pure emotion and pure reaction. This is actual, factual things that have happened. This is the map. This is the blueprint to why I have come to this decision. This is the blueprint that a lot of people don't even know that they're calling on when they say, fire Bill O'Brien. They don't have this. I've done the legwork for you. If you don't believe me, go back. It's cataloged. 2014 to 2019. This is our worst loss so far. If we can't win on Thursday, and then we have to fucking deal with New England the following week, and let's say New England does what Baltimore does to us, it's almost guaranteed that either Baltimore or New England will make it to the AFC Championship game. It's almost a guarantee. I mean, outside of unforeseen consequences or injuries, it's a guarantee that both those teams could end up playing in the AFC Championship game, or one of them will. And then I will have been correct on drawing a map for you from 2014 to 2019 that we cannot beat contending teams no matter the talent that we have. And rather it be at quarterback or running back or wide receiver or whatever you want to say, whatever you want to point out. But I will point out this: in our blowout losses, if in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2019, not one quarterback has thrown for 200 yards. The closest quarterback to do that was Brock Osweiler. Let that fucking set in. I know the videos run long, but I had to make this point. To all the fucking people out there that are always talking shit, I always say, oh, it's just one game, it's just this. There are multiple games that I just laid out for you. And in some years, multiple games. Y'all can sit here and keep loving him and all that shit you want to. But when I say fire him, I have the fucking facts to back up what the fuck I said. Don't ever fucking forget that.
Perfect.